Hi guys, what's going on? It's Steven from Making Multifamily Money, and today I want to share lessons that I learned from scaling from 0 to 90 units in less than 5 years. So, for those of you who don't know, I started investing in real estate back in 2017. I bought my first single family home to house hack in 2017, which led to my second single family home that I house hacked in 2019, and which led to my third single family home in 2020 that I house hacked, which led to two more single family homes, which I just used as straight rental. And that leads me to 2021, which is where I purchased, my 26 unit apartment complex, my 20 unit apartment complex, and my 200 lot mobile home park. So I bought all those honestly during COVID, during the past, year and a half. So I did scale very rapidly. And, while it is very impressive, to share as a headline, I just kind of want to share the reality of what really happened behind the scenes when scaling too fast, right? So, exponential growth is typically expected when you start off in real estate. Like, the first year or two, I just got 1 to 2 units of single family homes. But once I learned about apartment complexes and investing out of state, so I live in California, which is very expensive. It's $1 million for a single family home, versus in Oklahoma City, you can get a probably 30 unit apartment complex for the same $1 million. So once I kind of combined apartment complexes with buying real estate out of state, that's when I started to exponentially grow. And my problem was I sent out a direct mailing campaign. So I was doing 300 letters a month, using PropStream for my data, Yell Letters Complete for my outsourced mailing campaign. If you want links of referral links down below, just check the description. I have them all down below. And I have another video talking about how I set my direct mailing campaign. But by sending out those letters, I was getting a lot of good deals. And the problem is, I had a hard time saying no to good deals, right? Because, hey, I just got this deal, this 26 units. I got it in, I think, like August of 2021. And then I got my mobile home park presented to me in November of 2021, like literally 3 months after that I closed on my 26 unit. And that was a great deal as well. I got it for $1 million, with $100,000 down, seller financing, $100 million loan note at 5% interest only for a 5 year term, with the first year's interest deferred and add to the back end of the loan. So that was a killer deal. I mean, the upside potential was amazing. I got it for $1 million, fixed up, about 20 units to date. And the park is sitting here around 40 units right now. And, I ran out of my renovation capital, but now I'm actually looking to flip this mobile home park to a large operator for almost a $500,000 profit. So more on this video later, about why I'm deciding to flip it versus keep it, when traditionally I am a buy and hold investor. That's what I advocate for. But I'm going to tie it in a bit later why I'm actually looking to flip it. And then, so that was November 2021. And then in May of 2022, I got my 20 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma as well. But this was from the initial letters I sent out, over a year ago. So I just was in contact with this owner for such a long time. He wanted $350,000 for a 20 unit, which is a killer deal. I mean, you can't even build a 20 unit apartment complex for $350,000. So it was definitely a screaming deal, right? So that is how I scaled so rapidly. I just had a bunch of deals presented to me. I did a cash out refinance of a paid off single family home in the Bay Area, which unfortunately I had to inherit earlier than anticipated when my mother passed away. So I was able to do a cash out refi, to pull out some of that equity to then allocate towards these, two apartment complexes in the mobile home park. So that was fortunate for me, and how I was able to scale. But overall, going through this experience like taught me quite a bit that I'm gonna take forward with the rest of my life. Definitely it wasn't easy. I did this while working a full time W-2 job. I had to relocate where I was living in Los Angeles, and other work-life balance stuff, right? Like spending time with friends and family still while doing a full-time W-2, and then try to build a YouTube channel now. So there's just a lot of like things that I was juggling in the air. And what I kind of quickly learned was, your mental capacity has a limit. And I finally hit my limit. I never knew what my mental capacity limit was until I scaled to 90 units while working a full-time W-2, while trying to do my job, while trying to build like a side hustle through YouTube and all that. So I literally hit my mental limit. And how you can tell you hit your mental limit is when you start to forget things, right? Like I was juggling so many different things, and eventually, when you can't juggle anymore, you start to just drop things on the floor, right? So I was dropping things like I was neglecting I wasn't as diligent with my apartment complexes. My both my apartment complex, which I'm renovating right now. So I'm actually doing renovation all three of them, right? So imagine I renovate 20 apartment units and I renovate 20 mobile homes. So in 1 year, I literally renovated 40 units collectively while working full time, while doing everything else, right? So that's usually doing 40 flips a year usually takes a whole team. And I did this myself. And, fortunately, I was able to leverage a lot because my property managers served as my general contractor for my apartment complexes, and for my mobile home park. I had an on-site manager who manages the renovation team, and I have an off-site manager who manages my on-site manager. So I work with the CEO of the mobile home park consulting company, who then works with the off-site manager, who works with the on-site manager, who works with the renovation team. That's a lot of layers, right? So I was fortunate at that, but what I found was that because I was so forgetful, I was just dropping the ball on so many things. In my last video, I mentioned that I didn't even realize that the units that were becoming vacant in my 20 unit that I was renovating, my property manager assumed that I wanted to just rent those out or renovate those out as well. But I assumed that they were just going to rent them out and do the basic rent readies. And all of a sudden, when I finished all five of my renovation units, I asked her, "Hey, so what's the rent roll?" And then she shows me, and I literally have seven tenants left out of 20, right? And when I took over, there was 15. So I lost like eight tenants. And, to be fair, they did tell me they evicted a couple and some left due to bed bugs, but I just never really paid that much attention. So I did drop the ball on my end because I was just so focused on my mobile home park, because I was using most of my money and time was going to the mobile home park. So of course, that's where all my attention went. So that's why I slightly dropped the ball on my apartment complexes. Fortunately for my 26 unit, the property manager is one of the strongest property managers I ever worked with. So he's very self-directed. So I didn't really need to be hands-on with that. With the 20 unit, I had to be, hands-on. And then the mobile home park was the most hands-on that I had to be on. So that's what I learned. I learned that I do not want to do three heavy value add projects at the same time while working a full time W 2. So that's why I alluded to, if there's an investor who's looking at making a pretty nice offer on my mobile home park that can make me between $300,000 to $500,000 after 1 year of value add. And, like I said, I bought it for $1 million or 1.1 million, probably put about $500,000 into it. So I'm all in 1.6. Hopefully I get an offer between 1.9 to 2.2 million, depending on what I get. But that's about $300,000 to $500,000 profit in 1 year. And I'm a buy and hold investor, but that is something I cannot pass up. And it's not because I don't think the park's not doing well, but it's just more of like I'm so mentally exhausted managing all these renovations for the past year. I do want to unload at least one thing off my plate. The mobile home park is most of my time and effort right now. And if I can take that money and just let my two apartment complexes finish a renovation, rent them out, stabilize it, do my cash out refi, then at that point, I'll take the money from my cash out refi and from my mobile home park, and I can buy easily a maybe 50 to 100 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma City. So that's what I kind of plan on doing. So that was a little bit long winded, but basically, my first lesson that I learned was I basically hit my mental capacity, and know that like it would be actually foolish of me to continue buying real estate at this moment in time, because I cannot handle it unless I expand my team, or if I didn't have like a W 2 job. right? In that case, I can maybe handle a bit more, but right now I have a W 2, so I cannot handle any more. I hit my max capacity. The second lesson I learned is that, you know, honestly, once I hit past my first apartment complex, I wasn't any much more happier buying the second mobile home park and then the third, the apartment complex to me. Like, honestly, I wasn't that much happier. I mean, definitely it is a nice learning process going through all of this. Like, I'm learning so much doing these renovations. For the apartment complexes, I'm learning so much about mobile home parks and doing the renovation and heavy turnaround parks and the valuation of that. So, I do appreciate it, what I've learned, but I was just so stressed like the past 6 months, and because at one point I actually was laid off from my job, so I was just sitting at home, not making any money. So, and then on top of that, I'm just writing out huge checks, right? I'm renovating my 26 unit. I'm writing checks for that. My 20 unit, writing more checks for that. My mobile home park, I'm writing huge checks for that, right? And just psychologically, it just didn't feel very good to me, right? Like, I have no job. I'm sitting at home on my couch and I'm writing out big renovation checks, right? So it just made me a lot feel more stressed and averted towards real estate. And I'm the type of guy, I love real estate. I caught the bug, it hit me hard, and I wanted to scale, right? But this was the first time where I redlined my mental capacity. I had no job at one point. I'm writing out big checks. I'm like, I'm not any happier. Like, it was actually more stressful. I'm like, my net worth grew significantly, but I'm not that much more happy. Like, because I took on too much, right? I took on way too much. I was stressed, and then I wasn't focused. My work life balance was compromised, right? Because I'm not as present with my friends and family. I'm tired most of the time, between doing my job and all this renovation. So, once again, like, would I do all three heavy value at the same time? And my answer is no. Like, I just want to slowly, get maybe 30, 50 units every maybe 2, 3 years until eventually, my portfolio is so large enough and I hit my cash flow goal of $20,000 a month that I can leave my W 2 job. And at that point, when I leave my W 2 job, maybe I can take on more value add if I want to, right? If I want to take on that additional stress, but it's really up to you, right? At the end of the day, I invest in real estate to buy myself time and freedom to do what I want, not to buy more stress. I do understand that there's going to be short-term stress in the learning curve, which I'm going through right now, but eventually it's going to get easier and easier for me, and the more wealth that I build, it'll be less and less stressful because I already have such a solid foundation built already, and then from there it's easy to scale. But right now I'm building my foundation to leave, and I bit off more than I can chew, right? So this is an issue of entrepreneurs, is that we just want to sprint to the finish line, but in reality you just can cruise and get there a little bit slower, but then not be as stressed out. So that was a lesson that I basically learned as well. And like I said, it was more stressful than I would like, and I just said, like, why am I taking on all this stress unnecessarily for me, right? Like, your health and your happiness should never be compromised. um, you can build a real estate portfolio slowly and in a way that doesn't stress you out, right? There is a way to do that. And obviously, if you purchase my course or join my mentorship, that's what I teach, right? Like I said, I'm just one step ahead of you, and I want to blaze the path for you and show you what to expect. Number three is, I think a mistake that I made was I didn't pause to reevaluate like what I'm doing every maybe 3 months, every 3 to 6 months. So for me, I was on a death sprint, like full on sprint to hit my fat fire goal of $20,000 a month, at 35 years old. I'm currently 32 right now, about 32 and a half. And I was just so focused on sprinting straight towards that finish line, and I just kind of never paused to reevaluate, like, what made me happy. What was I doing? Like, does this make sense, right? Because you kind of need those moments to sit back and reflect, because and it's not my fault, right? Like, it's a lot of work to close on, basically 85, 86 units in the span of a year while working full time. So, I was just so focused and just deaf sprinting. And then finally, after going through it for about the past maybe 3 months, I just came to like this realization that like, why am I sprinting so fast? Like, I'm relatively young compared to most real estate investors. Having a 90 unit portfolio is amazing as it is already. If I don't buy a single piece of real estate, it's like, what's the rush, right? And even my current portfolio, like I can hit my fat fire goal of $20,000 a month with my current portfolio without much effort, right? So that's what made me kind of come to the realization that I should just sell my mobile home park, just focus on one asset class, right? Like I have apartment complexes in Oklahoma City. I have a very strong property manager. Honestly, I could have another 100, 200 units in Oklahoma City and not even be stressed out because I have such a strong team there. I don't even think about it, right? So that's when it made sense that if I got the right offer from a mobile home park, which is taking all my time, all my energy, and sucking my soul right now, if I can make any money off of that, like I said, 300,000 and half a million, I will take that offer in a heartbeat and then hold on to that money, pay the capital gains tax, wait for my apartment complex to stabilize, and then start my direct mailing campaign again. Ask my property manager to find me more deals, and then buy more there. And then once I've scaled a portfolio in Oklahoma that hits my fat fire goal, at that point, I will probably leave my W-2 job, and at that point, I might pivot to a different asset class, like back to mobile home parks, right? Because I'm doing two different asset classes. I'm doing apartments and mobile home parks, so my attention is spread out a little bit thin, right? And don't get me wrong, I've learned so much doing this mobile home park. Like honestly, I've learned so much. I'll do another video on what I learned with doing my mobile home park turnaround and fix and flip. But from what I've learned from this park, I know the next park that I do in maybe 3 to 5 years, whenever I'm ready for that, whenever I hit my fat fire goal, I know how to make it successful and I know what to expect, so I won't be as stressed out, right? So I have all the skill sets already, and I basically made money to learn that lesson. I thought I was going to lose money on that mobile home park to learn that lesson to make the second mobile home park better, but I actually will make money and learn all the lessons I need to make a mobile home park successful. Because the mobile home parks, it's not going to retire you in the next 3 to 5 years. They're huge projects that you do for 5 to 10 years. So, if my fat fire goal was 3 to 5 years, no way does a mobile home park make sense, right? So that's why I'm ultimately selling it so that I can take that money to buy an apartment complex that's even maybe stabilized that makes me cash flow day one so that I can retire sooner, right? And then once I'm retired, then I can go back to mobile home parks and scale there if I want to. Or if apartments are so easy, like why rock the boat, right? Just continue buying apartment complexes in Oklahoma City. So that was kind of another lesson that I learned. So overall, I hope you found these lessons that I learned from scaling from 0 to 90 units helpful for you. I just want to show kind of the behind the scenes of what my thought process was, what the stressors I went through, and my mindset during the time. Because I know a lot of people, when you listen to like podcasts, like Bigger Pockets, you just hear the success stories. Like for me, you're probably just saying, wow, he scaled to 90 units in 5 years. But I just wanted to share my transparent thoughts about going through that process and make it known that I would not repeat this, but I can take what I learned from here forward with me from my real estate investing career, which I'm going to do for the rest of my life, right? So at least 50 years more. So these lessons will be invaluable for me. But I want to teach it to you about you having to go through the pain I went through over the past year. So if you found this valuable, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested, you can check out my Making Multifamily course down in the description below. If you have questions in regards to it, just shoot me an email. The key is to start getting educated and to learn and to take action. Hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.